All right, today we're going to talk about something you've probably touched a million times without even thinking about it. A natural stone with a seriously wild history. We're talking ancient Vikings, modern kitchens, the whole deal. Let's get into the story of Soapstone.
Okay, so here's a question for you. What in the world do Viking ships, high-tech science labs, and beautiful, intricate sculptures all have in common? Sounds kind of like a riddle, right? But believe it or not, the answer is a single amazing stone.
And that stone is soapstone. Now, this stuff is a total paradox. It's so soft you can literally carve it with basic tools. But at the same time, it's tough enough to handle crazy high temperatures and even harsh chemicals. And it's that exact contradiction that has made it so important to people for, well, thousands of years. All right, so first up, let's talk about where you've probably seen this stuff. I bet you've come across it and maybe didn't even realize what it was. You know those gorgeous, moody, dark gray kitchen counters? The ones with the soft, subtle veins running through them? Yep, that's often soapstone. Or how about the hearth of a fireplace that just radiates warmth long after the fire's gone out? That's its magic. It's used in sinks, those awesome pizza stones that get your crust just right, and even serving platters that keep your cheese perfectly chilled. Soapstone is kind of quietly everywhere, looking beautiful and doing some serious work.
So you gotta wonder, what makes it so special? How can it be both soft and super durable? To figure that out, we've got to dive into the science of the thing.
Okay, so the fancy scientific name for soapstone is steatite. It's what's called a metamorphic rock. And its main ingredient, the real secret sauce, is talc. A lot of talc. That super high talc content is what gives it that smooth, kind of silky feel, which is exactly where it gets its name. It honestly feels a little bit like a dry bar of soap.
And when I say soft, I mean really soft. So on the Mohs scale, which measures mineral hardness, talc is a 1. To give you some perspective, your fingernail is about a 2.5. So yeah, it's incredibly soft, and that's the whole secret to why it's been so easy for people to carve and shape for centuries. But here's where things get really interesting, especially when you compare it to, say, granite or marble. Look at this. It's non-porous. What does that mean for you? It means you don't have to seal it and it won't stain. Spilled some red wine? No problem. It's also totally unfazed by acid, so if you spill lemon juice or vinegar, it's not going to etch or damage the surface. Now sure, it's softer so it can get scratches, but when it comes to handling heat and chemicals, it is just on a whole other level.
And this amazing combination of features, well, it's not some recent discovery. Not at all. Humans figured this out a long, long time ago. So let's jump in the time machine and check out soapstone's incredible history.
Really, the story of soapstone is a story about human problem solving. Go back thousands of years. Ancient civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia were carving it into seals and little pots. Indigenous peoples in North America figured out they could make cooking bowls out of it, bowls you could put right on the fire. Then you have the Vikings. They used it for stoves and even as ballast in their ships because it could handle the thermal shock of getting hot and cold over and over without cracking. And the artistic side? That legacy is alive and well today. Just look at the absolutely stunning work of the Shona sculptors in Zimbabwe.
Which, of course, brings us right back to today. And you might think of it as an old-school material, but honestly, it's probably more versatile and used in more ways now than it has ever been. So back in our homes, we still love it for its tough but beautiful vibe in countertops and sinks. That whole heat-absorbing thing we talked about, that makes it perfect for masonry heaters that can keep a room toasty for hours on end. And of course, because it's so easy to work with, artists are still using it to create absolutely incredible sculptures. But its job goes way beyond just the stuff we see every day. In science labs, it's the absolute gold standard for bench tops because chemicals don't phase it. It's used as an insulator in electrical panels. And get this, when you grind it down into that talc powder, it becomes a key ingredient in all sorts of things. We're talking plastics, ceramics, paint, even paper.
And if you want one more example of its crazy range, it might even be in your drink. You know those little cubes called whiskey stones that you use to chill a drink without watering it down? Yep, a lot of those are made of soapstone. It holds on to the cold just as well as it holds on to heat. How cool is that?
Okay, so it's beautiful, it's got an amazing history, and it's super useful. But there's one last part of this story that's becoming more and more important these days, and that's how sustainable it is.
When you look at its whole life cycle, you can see why it's such a great environmental choice. Getting it out of the ground is pretty low impact. It lasts forever, so you're not constantly replacing it. And when it does reach the end of its life in one form, it can be totally repurposed or recycled into something new. It's what you'd call a truly circular material.
And that sustainability, plus its soft, natural look, has made it a huge favorite in modern design. It's a perfect fit for this idea called biophilic design, which is all about bringing the feeling of nature into the spaces where we live and work. Soapstone just has this quiet warmth and texture that does that perfectly.
So it all leaves you with this really interesting thought, doesn't it? In our world that's so full of synthetic, high-tech materials, is it possible that one of the very best materials for our future has been right here, under our feet, the entire time? It's an ancient stone that's proving again and again that it's more relevant than ever. Thanks for diving into this with me.